Hello, Illinois Tech community. Welcome to Career Conversations, a series of short conversations with Illinois Tech alumni to learn about their career journeys and gain advice on how students and new alumni can get a foot in the door in their industries. Today I'm speaking with Brian Farci, a 2016 graduate of Illinois Tech with a Bachelor's of Architecture. Brian has worked at Nike in Portland, Oregon for almost 5 years, and he just recently received a promotion to be a global brand experience designer. Brian, congrats on the promotion, and thanks for speaking with me today. How you doing?
I'm doing good, and thank you for the congrats. It's an awesome new role with a lot of good opportunities coming ahead.
That's fantastic. Definitely want to learn more about that, but before we get into your current experiences with Nike, can you talk a little bit about your experiences at Illinois Tech, some of the things that you got involved with, any jobs you had, etc.?
Yeah, so uh, I was a part of the 5-year architecture program at Illinois Tech. I applied there, kind of not knowing that immediately that I was going to, find the position I'm in right now. I thought that I really was going to follow more of like an architectural path, but um, one thing I learned from school was like there's just so many different paths and like a bunch of different like opportunities that I learned from campus, like from all the different types of classes. But some of the organizations and things that I was involved with, like uh, I kind of stayed within like my architectural, realm. That's like something that was like pretty common.
Yeah.
Like there was like an organization called like Architectural Lobby, that kind of like played a big role in like understanding like value within the industry and like especially specifically like students and younger designers coming out of school. And then like one other thing that actually probably was a very big influence was in my final year of school, I actually became a part of the IIT men's soccer team, which kind of like just like further cemented like how powerful sport can be, to not only like um, your mind and body, but also like to a community. And I think that's like one thing that I really liked about IIT was like that like it allowed me to like see so much more of campus. And I wish I was involved more in my earlier days, but I was so focused within my program itself.
Awesome, awesome. And I know that you were also a peer career coach, one of our, I believe, first group of peer career coaches. So,
Yeah.
um, so that was pretty fantastic to have you on board as we developed that program, and hopefully you were able to take some of those ideas too in your
Oh,
hiring
absolutely.
process.
Yeah, I was going to talk about that. Like I was like worked in the Graham Resource Center, which is like the architectural library, and then working as a peer career coach was actually awesome because I was able to like work on just like ways to talk with people that were kind of were new to me and like understand uh, you know people's point of views on like how they could see like what they learned in school and how they could apply it in a professional setting. And I think that like I definitely, hopefully, provided some good advice and like help people with like their kind of their skills and their resumes. But also I learned a lot from that. So I don't know if it you guys knew that, but it definitely went both ways.
That's fantastic. Glad you got some great pieces for your own career out of that experience, and so we always love to hear that. So tell me a little bit about your journey to get to Nike and your current position. Um, did you do an internship while you're at Illinois Tech? And if you did, like, how did you use that, that search for for an internship and then, post graduation with Nike? How did that all work out?
Yeah, so like I actually did not intern at Nike before I graduated.
Yeah.
What I actually did was like as I was going just through like school, essentially every single summer, I tried to find something. But and just so you know, like I am from Portland, so
Okay.
I am like a Portland native. So
Okay.
I like Nike was always in my backyard, and I had no idea like early on that I would either be working here or that that was even an option for me. But like after my first year of school, like I had an internship just from like a smaller firm here in Portland, like architecture firm, where I was like building models and doing some like very elementary things, and I kind of quickly realized that that was not the career path that I was wanting to pursue. And so
Yeah.
with that, I just like I tried to diversify and like broaden the scope of my education at IIT. And so I did that by like taking as many different classes that were related to space and like design as I possibly could. So like I took like a lot of sociology courses that that were like social use of space and like sociology in the workplace. And then I took like furniture design. I took like freehand drawing. I took like uh, history classes on like the 60s, which I was like very interested in, like the 50s and 60s, which is like I would say like influenced my design style. And
Yeah.
like yeah, like I just like every summer I just like kept on finding a new type of internship. So it's like I went from architecture firm to I worked for like a family friend who was doing like apparel design and like graphic design. Then I did furniture design, and then I eventually got into uh, working for like an agency, which is like a creative agency, more like branding, advertising, physical space. And then I essentially uh, got approached just like via LinkedIn to like uh, start like a contracting job at Nike, which was like a temporary role that turned into a full-time position. And so like the the path like through IIT is like just making sure that you like keep up. Like I kept my LinkedIn up to date, and I like um, through career services was able to just like you know diversify how I looked on papers so that I looked like an extremely well-rounded like designer um, that had the potential to do a whole number of things versus just work at an architecture firm.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, it sounds like to get from you going on a non-traditional route to Nike to more of a design career, you know, you know, required you to almost have a little bit more of a roundabout search experience in some ways, or a roundabout journey, through different experiences, to be able to get where you're at. And that's good. That's good to know, because I think a lot of students feel like that they're going to be stuck in one path because they've chosen a specific major, or that they think only gives you like one or two paths to go down. But I think you're
Yeah,
a great example of like, hey, this, you can put yourself on a path to really anywhere you want to go, as long as you get that variety of experiences.
yeah, I completely agree. Like, there's, you know, the the work profession is like totally changing where you can be a engineer and work like at a anywhere. You can be a designer or an architect and work for like um, you could work at a bank or like for a banking company. You could be you can consult under any type of like design or work profession ever. People that have like a liberal arts like degree can easily work at a company like Nike, or can or even like bigger tech companies or even smaller companies, because you gain all these like skills that um, school might not teach you, are easily transmittable, or transferable to like all these different professions. But they really are, and you just have to be able to like see through that and like connect the pieces yourself sometimes.
Yeah, yeah, fantastic. So, I think you kind of touched on this already, but obviously talking about, having all these experiences, but what other sort of like specific actions would you recommend for a current student? Say that they're looking to work in your industry, for instance, like if they're wanting to be in the kind of design world, whether they're regardless of whether they're studying something directly, whether they're studying architecture or engineering. So, how do they
Mhm.
get a foot in the door at in the design industry as an intern or a full-time professional?
Yeah, so like I mentioned before, like what really helped me from the beginning was just keeping my like LinkedIn professionally like updated. Like you'd be surprised how helpful that can be. Um, I've heard multiple, that's how a lot of people actually get jobs like nowadays, like even in the design industry, but also other industries. Um, One other thing is just like, reaching out to people that you either know or you want to get to know more like within your industry. Like I wouldn't say like try going all the way to the top of like some ladder or corporate ladder, but like people are totally willing to talk to younger people entering the profession. I mean, I've done it a few times already with students, and it's great to just like provide a little bit of like background and advice for for how they can better prepare themselves. And if to IIT students like specifically within my industry, just wanting to go into more design versus like architectural is just you know look at how you can try to diversify your like experience in whether it's like through school or through working, and just like understand how like each job and each step you take will allow you to reach your goal, because it's very hard maybe sometimes to like go from point A to point B without like taking a few steps in between, and I think that's like super helpful.
Right, right. So what skill sets do you think are most important for success in your industry at this point?
Oh man, I think that's like it's like a loaded question because like the industry um, is always changing. Like specifically, like my new role is like we are the team's job is to like essentially be at the like cutting edge of like brand defining experiences and for athletes, for consumers, for um, anyone who anywhere that Nike will be putting their brand out for the world to see. Um, we're gonna try to make sure that that is like the best experience that someone would be able to have. And so I think that like we are always changing, and I think that the biggest thing is like being able um, to like collaborate is huge. Like being a team player is like tremendous. Like
Hmm.
nothing ever comes. Very rarely does something come out of thin air from like one person's idea. It's usually always like a collaborative effort. And the second one is just like being able to like design to solve problems, because everything is all about problem solving. And just like whether it's like, oh, a design detail, or you could have like a project that needs the timeline is like super tight, so you're gonna have to like find ways to make it as good as possible without cutting corners, or or cutting costs or whatever. um, but I think that like collaboration and like problem solving are like two like killer traits to have in the design industry.
That's interesting. Now, are there any, I mean, and that's, um, so those are, like we've talked, those are so important, I think, in a lot of industries and certainly in any sort of creative industry. And um, just is there any like harder technical skills that are a part of your job or anybody on your team that um, that are kind of a big part of the work too?
Yeah, so like technical wise, like a lot of the kind of programs that you would learn in school are definitely apply. Like there are moments where I use like 3D CAD, you know, programs like Rhino or like or AutoCAD or SketchUp to do our work to like kind of like visualize it. But
Uh-huh.
then like essentially there's a lot of it's more about like storytelling. I think that like if I were to add something to the list of like things that are important, storytelling and being able to explain your idea uh, to a point is probably more important than any of those other things I mentioned because without like when you're telling a story and you can get someone to like feel a certain way, you're going to win. You're going to win. You're going to like win that moment. Whether you're presenting like to a consumer or to an athlete or to like your boss or upper leadership, it's if you know how to tell a story and how to get someone to feel a certain way, then uh, like you win. It's like
Right.
that's like the best thing, and I'm like obviously still like learning. I'm nowhere near like as good of a storyteller as I want to be, but I work with a lot of really talented people that like it's just an art, and uh, it's being able to like sell an idea when it
Right.
comes down to it. Uh, and that's like it takes it's technical in a way because it's like it's an art that is uh, you just learn it through like practice uh, and even though there's no program associated with it, it's like there's so many different ways to do that. So I think that's like something that people should try to work on.
Yeah, yeah, and it's not something that you can like just learn in school, or you can't take like a online course for it necessarily. It's got to be
Yeah,
you got to practice, and like so many of those skills, they have to kind of be developed over time. Um, so my last question, and kind of what I've got from this discussion is, you've been, your path has been through a variety of different areas and fields and ideas, and certainly your job day to day is like, really bringing in lots of disparate information, and building these stories, and to persuade for the purpose of, for Nike, and to grow the business. And so can you talk a little bit about some of the resources that you've used to help in your career in terms of books, podcasts, magazines, just things you like, even things you do right now that like,
yeah,
like things you're reading, and things you're using to help you be better at your job?
yeah. Like when like the world was when the world was different, like pre-COVID, and especially when I was in school, I would really enjoy like going to like the art museums like around the city. It's really eye-opening to just like to not only see like kind of like the older pieces, but like more of like the newer age work, like whether it's at like the Art Institute or if it's at like the like the Modern Arts Museum. Uh, those like are really inspirational, and I think that like in order to be within the design field, you do have to be aware of like art, like where it's been and also where it's going, and like and then on top of that, like digitally, like I definitely like stay up to date on like a lot of online publications like Dezeen, which is like an art kind of like art design online publication, and
Uh,
like getting inspired by like things like architecture, like with Arc Daily or uh, just like reading the news, like being aware of like what's happening culturally, and also just like, you no longer can design within just a bubble. Like you have to be aware of like everything that's going on. But just like being outside and like staying active and things like that also is like such a huge resource, because like like I said, like my last year of school, when I played on the men's soccer team, it just totally like clicked that it was like understanding like how important sport is to like community, and how that can bring people together. And I think that's like one thing that I'm really excited about Nike, is like how they empower people to like come together through sport. And I think that's like that's like the biggest resource you can get, is like your peers and your friends and family around you.
Yeah, that's fantastic. That's fantastic, and yeah, I mean, for definitely for the work that you're doing, I think that's just so important to understand all of that, and um, yeah, and so this has been really fascinating conversation, Brian, and I really appreciate it. And I think I could talk with you for another half hour about all this stuff, because I think you've really brought up some really great points, and I certainly think that this conversation is going to be really valuable for students that are um, you know like we talked about earlier, thinking of maybe they're in a major and they don't realize that there's all these other alternative paths, and I think you've really kind of shown some at least one way to get on an alternative path from what they're studying, and really find a really rewarding career. So thank you so much, Brian. And Illinois Tech community, thank you for watching this session of Career Conversations. We hope you check out our future conversations.